Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that the government has decided the group you belong to is suddenly unacceptable. Not because the group committed violence, not because it broke the law, but simply because people in power do not like what the group believes, what it stands for, or the people connected to it. Now suddenly, your meetings are monitored. Your membership becomes suspicious. Employers start distancing themselves from you. Authorities begin asking questions. Friends stop calling. Fear replaces freedom. And here's the frightening part. Most people never think about freedom of association until the day somebody tries to control who they can stand beside, who they can support, who they can organize with, who they can belong to. Today, we are talking about one of the quietest but most powerful human rights that exists in democratic societies around the world. The right to freedom of association, the right to join, the right to organize, the right to belong, and equally important, the right not to belong. Because the moment people lose the freedom to associate with one another freely, power becomes dangerously concentrated. And history has shown us exactly where that road leads. Let us get into it. What is freedom of association? At its core, freedom of association is the legal right of people to voluntarily come together around shared interests, goals, beliefs, professions, identities, or causes without unlawful interference. And when I say association, I am talking about far more than political groups. This right covers labor unions, student organizations, religious groups, political parties, professional bodies, advocacy movements, cultural organizations, community groups, business associations, peaceful activist networks, even social clubs, because human beings naturally organize themselves into groups. That is part of what makes society function. No single person can influence society alone for very long. But organized people become powerful. And that is exactly why freedom of association has always made governments uncomfortable. Because isolated individuals are easier to control than united communities. Let me ask you something. How many major changes in history happened because one person acted completely alone? Very few. Workers gained labor protections because workers organized. Civil rights movements succeeded because communities organized. Students changed educational systems because students organized. Women expanded voting rights because women organized. Every major democratic improvement you enjoy today exists because people gathered together and decided. We are stronger collectively than individually. That is freedom of association in action. It is not merely the freedom to join groups. It is the freedom to build collective power. And that changes everything. Because when people can freely associate, governments become accountable, businesses face pressure, institutions can be challenged, corruption becomes harder to hide, communities gain bargaining power. Without freedom of association, society becomes dangerously silent. Now here is the part many people overlook. Freedom of association also includes the freedom not to associate. Meaning, you generally cannot be forced into political groups, forced into ideological organizations, forced into religious associations, forced into unions in certain circumstances depending on the legal system. This matters because true freedom cannot exist where people are compelled to adopt beliefs or affiliations against their will. The law protects choice, not forced loyalty. And history has repeatedly shown how dangerous forced association becomes when governments start deciding what citizens must support publicly. Let me tell you a story. Meet David. David works at a manufacturing company where employees are consistently underpaid and overworked. People complain privately every single day, but nothing changes. Why? Because isolated complaints are easy to ignore. Eventually, a few workers decide to organize a labor union. Not violently, not unlawfully, simply collectively. And suddenly the dynamic changes. Management can ignore one employee. It becomes much harder to ignore hundreds. But then the intimidation starts. Workers are threatened with dismissal. Meetings are discouraged. Rumors spread that joining the union could damage careers. And this is where freedom of association becomes more than theory. Because in many democratic legal systems, workers have legal protections allowing them to organize collectively without retaliation. Why? Because the law recognizes something important. Power without organized resistance often becomes abusive. Now meet Lena. Lena is a university student who starts an environmental advocacy group on campus. The group is peaceful, organized, focused entirely on awareness campaigns. But administrators begin pressuring the group because its activities embarrass influential donors connected to pollution-heavy industries. Suddenly, meeting rooms become unavailable. Events are delayed. Administrative barriers appear everywhere. Officially, nobody says, "We are targeting your group." But practically, that is exactly what is happening. And this illustrates one of the biggest modern threats to freedom of association. Indirect suppression. Not outright bans. Not dramatic arrests. But pressure. Obstacles. Institutional frustration designed to make organizing exhausting. Sometimes rights are not destroyed openly. Sometimes they are slowly suffocated. Now let us be clear about something important. Freedom of association is not absolute. No right is. The law generally protects peaceful and lawful associations, not violent criminal enterprises. That means governments can lawfully restrict organizations involved in terrorism, organized violent crime, human trafficking, armed extremist activity, violent insurrection, because rights are balanced against public safety. But here is the critical danger. Governments throughout history have often abused security arguments to silence legitimate opposition groups. And this is why courts in democratic societies usually require strong legal justification before associations can be restricted. Not mere suspicion, not political dislike, not embarrassment, actual lawful justification. Because once governments gain unrestricted power to decide which groups may exist, freedom becomes fragile. Now let us talk about something modern. Online communities. Because freedom of association no longer happens only in physical spaces. Today people organize through social media groups, encrypted chats, online communities, digital campaigns, global activist networks. The internet has completely changed how people associate. A student in Nigeria can organize with activists in Canada. Workers across continents can coordinate instantly. Movements can form overnight. And that power terrifies institutions, which is why digital surveillance has become one of the biggest legal debates in the modern world. Because when governments monitor associations too aggressively, people become afraid to organize at all, and fear destroys participation. Now this is important. Freedom of association does not give organizations immunity from law. A peaceful advocacy group is protected. A violent criminal network is not. A labor union is protected. A fraud syndicate is not. The law protects lawful collective activity, not criminal conspiracy. And this distinction matters because people often confuse rights with immunity. They are not the same thing. Let us get practical. If you ever join, organize, or participate in associations, here are 5 things you should remember. Tip 1. Know the laws governing organizations in your country. Because registration requirements, reporting obligations, and organizational protections vary significantly across jurisdictions. Ignorance creates vulnerability. Tip 2. Document intimidation or retaliation carefully. If employers, institutions, or authorities unlawfully target lawful association activity, evidence matters. Always. Tip 3. Separate lawful activism from unlawful conduct. Peaceful organization strengthens protection. Violence weakens it immediately. Tip 4. Protect your digital privacy. Modern association increasingly happens online, and careless digital behavior exposes people unnecessarily. Use secure communication practices where appropriate. Tip 5. Understand that rights are strongest when exercised collectively and responsibly. Fear isolates people. Knowledge connects them. Let us destroy 3 dangerous myths. Myth 1. Freedom of association only protects political groups. False. It protects a massive range of lawful organizations and collective activity. Myth 2. Private companies can never interfere with association rights. Not always true. Labor laws, anti-discrimination laws, and constitutional protections in some systems can restrict how employers respond to lawful collective organization. Myth 3. If the government says a group is dangerous, that automatically makes restrictions lawful. Absolutely false. Democratic legal systems generally require evidence, legal procedure, and judicial oversight. Power alone should never determine legitimacy. Here is the truth. Every society tells you what it fears by the groups it tries hardest to control. Because organized people change systems. They expose corruption, challenge authority, protect communities, create reform. That is why freedom of association matters. Not because groups are always right, but because freedom itself depends on people being allowed to stand together voluntarily. This was another episode of Know Your Rights. If this video taught you something valuable, hit the like button because it genuinely helps this channel reach more people who need legal knowledge explained simply. Subscribe and turn on notifications because rights become powerful only when ordinary people understand them before problems arise. And comment below. Do you think governments today respect freedom of association or fear it? I will see you in the next one.